Let's put together the framework for a circus book using the Frapps and Scraps chipboard base kit. In the kit, you'll get 4 pieces of chipboard for your front cover and back cover. I like to glue 2 of them together just to make it a little bit thicker. While I put my liquid glue in there, I will then use my brayer and spread that glue all around, making sure that the glue coats everything nicely. Please note the circle here is cut out just to show some options of different things that you can do, and your kit will come without that circle and just plain, kind of like the right side here. Also, I've put a piece of red metallic craft stock in that circle because I plan to use a tunneling effect. Next, we're using 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. It is textured cardstock and it's the Basil brand, my favorite. I'm using some double-sided sticky tape to hold it together, and then I also still put my liquid adhesive over it. Like I always say, tape for today, glue for tomorrow. Now we'll get our chipboard pieces taped down to this cardstock. You want to put the fold or the crease where the cardstock comes together on the spine area for the easiest way to cover your base of the book. You can play around a little bit with it to see where that crease will wind up, and just be creative in the ways that you cover it here. Now you can see I laid both of the cover pieces down next to the spine and left a little gap. You want a tiny space in between there just so that things can fold nicely. More double-sided tape here will help all of these chipboard pieces to stick down. I know, use your pokey tool. It will help to get those top layers of the tape off, but I was just using my nails here. So again, leaving that little gap, you can use like a little gift card or a little template or even another piece of chipboard just to make sure you have the approximate same gap in between those chipboard pieces. Again, I like to use my brayer to go over the pieces that I've glued just to make sure that everything gets evenly dispersed as far as the glue, and that we'll have a really good adhesion with this chipboard. You can see I've folded the ends of that cardstock over, and here I'm just going to try to train that paper a little bit, folding it up and down just to get all of the creases. Now that everything's glued down, I'm going to trim off a little bit of the excess of this cardstock and then miter cut the corners. After cutting those corners, we'll go ahead and start folding down the sides and top and bottom of this cardstock, just slowly kind of creasing it and getting it to learn its place without cracking. You just kind of want to massage it and fold it gently. Then we'll go ahead and put some more double-sided tape on. You don't always have to use double-sided tape. You can definitely use any kind of adhesive that you would like. I like to use double-sided tape and some liquid adhesive as well. Once you've got that all done, we'll go ahead and fold this around and check our corners. This would normally be the inside of my book, but since I want to have that tunneling feature, that circle kind of threw me off just a little bit, so I'm working on things a little bit inside out. Feel free to make any additional cuts or trims on your corners that you would like, and I like to use a bone folder to go over those creases and make sure that they are nice and solid and ready to fold. And you can see this has definitely made the base of the book. Here I'm trying to decide if I want to put a piece of cardstock down the spine. If you do, just make sure that it's bigger than the spine so that you can fold it over easily and then layer on some of the cover decorations that you would like to put on there. I ultimately decided to use a fabric here because the cardstock was just feeling not quite as soft as I wanted it to. Notice I did go around that circle with some Uncharted Mariner ink, and I think it was great. So here's the fabric that I decided to put on the spine. It has some cute little stars that go with the circus theme for this book. I like to stretch it all the way around the book. Sometimes I cut it a little bit short, and that leaves a little bit of a space in between, but don't worry, I will cover that and it won't be seen. I'm just using some clear gel tacky glue to put this fabric on. Again, you can use Fabri-Tac 3-in-1, tacky glue, whatever you have that you like. I like to make sure I spread that glue around so I don't get any glue clumps or stains on the fabric. I've used a die cut to cut out a circle in the top layer of the chipboard that's going to go over this right side of the cover, and also cut the same circle out of one of the printable pieces of paper that I plan to use on the cover of this book. So you can see I'm just getting it all lined up and glued down here, and then we'll go ahead and layer it on for a really fun tunnel book kind of a look. Now that I've got everything covered, you can see I have a little bit of a white edge here. No worries, just going to take my frayed burlap Distress Oxide ink, go around the whole edge here, and then I will also come in with a little bit of Uncharted Mariner Distress Oxide ink, just for a little pop of color that kind of matches the turquoise in that printable. Then we'll go ahead and get everything layered in there. And I love how that looks. I love that lion right in the center there. And I decided I could see some of the cardstock through the circles, so that is why I cut a little bit down, just to make it a better fit for what the look I was going for. Again, more double-sided tape, and then we'll do some more glue as well. Once you got everything pressed down and adhered really well, we'll go ahead and work on the spine. The spine piece with all of the holes here is actually a template. So take the template, set it in between the cover pages, and make sure that it's a really good fit with everything that you've added on there. You still want the pages to be able to flip up comfortably around that template. Then I take my Sharpie pen and just put some circles through those, some dots through the circles there. Top and bottom are the only ones I'm using because I'm making a slipped spine. So even though you have a template, you can still use it for whatever needs that you want for your book. Now that I have those dots marked, I'll take my crocodile. On the 3/16 hole is the one I like to use because I like to use 3/16 eyelets. And I'll go ahead and poke those holes out. If you get the fabric and chipboard stuck in your crocodile, squeeze the handle and let those come right out. Since I'm not putting the holes in the center, I can easily just use my smaller crocodile because it will reach to punch the holes where I need them if I just turn the book around. I don't need that extra 12-inch of reach that the Big Bite provides. All the holes are punched, and now we'll go ahead and put in those eyelets. I'm using 3/16 shaped eyelets that are like stars. We'll just make sure that we have our crocodile settings correct for a 3/16 eyelet. I like to just set them all in here. The holes feel pretty snug, so I can just set them in there, and then now I can set them really easily all at one time. And I like to always flip it over and make sure that I got a nice flush setting with those eyelets. Still adjusting that spine as I go, trying to get it trained into the position that it will be a functional book in. So I'm always kind of creasing it as I go along, making sure it's still functional. Flip those over again, looks great. Now we'll put in the elastic for the slipped spine binding. I like to use a thin beading cord or elastic, and you can see I started on the inside there. You can lace it however you would like, but you just want the strings on the inside of the spine to hold the pages for the slipped spine book. Basically, we're making a loop out of our elastic so it holds the pages. Cut it a little shorter than what you'll need because it stretches. If you wanted to have 3 signatures, you would need to lace through all 3 of these holes, making sure that there are 3 strands on the center of the spine here. Here's where you decide what you want to do with those leftover strands of string or elastic there. They can be laced back through the holes to be on the inside or the outside of the book, on the top or the bottom, however you would like. You can also just cut them off. Either way, I sometimes like to use them for the dangle of the book or to hold a charm or what have you. So you can just kind of fiddle with those a little bit to suit your needs for your book and your liking. Here I'm using some eyelash trim just to decorate that center spine piece. It's going to work out to be an extra piece of like a decorative dangle on the spine, and I think that's really great. So lots of versatility with these books. You can really make them your own and put your own finishing touches here. So I'm going to be putting this eyelash trim through the center holes, and you'll see me use some tweezers here because it starts to get a little bit fiddly and full through there. So just note that you can put any kind of string through here. You can do yarn or ribbon or lace or whatever you would like. The sky's the limit, and let your imagination lead you wherever you're gonna go. So there we have it, all of our little strands here tied on to look like a little dangle in the center. You can feel free to make a dangle separate and just clip it on there, or have it so that it can detach, or you can leave it like this, and I think it looks great. Now that we have the elastic in there, we can easily slip these pages in, provided that you have the height not bigger than the space between eyelet to eyelet. I really wanted to add a little bit of sparkle here to this Circus printable, so I'm using my Jelly Roll pen in a red and just going over some of those flags and bringing in a little pop of sparkle to just a few of the extra pieces, just to give a pop of color. Thank you so much for watching how the base of this book gets assembled. Be sure to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button.